So today I just wanted to do a quick video about the top 5 mistakes Angelica and I made during our first year of raising backyard chickens. Some of them were not that big of a deal, some of them were deadlier than others. So the first one I want to talk about is roosting. We did a really bad job starting out, teaching them how to roost. I didn't, have anything for them to kind of learn to roost on, to really get them used to doing that at night. And by the time I built their coop and they moved in, I didn't even have anywhere for them to roost inside yet. And by the time I added that in, they had already gotten accustomed to sleeping in the nesting boxes, which is the worst place for them to sleep. And I'm actually still dealing with that now. And they're getting a little better. But our new pullet that's right here next to me, we did a much better job. She goes up into the coop and jumps onto the roost. And I've actually seen her jump onto the roost and then one of my older chickens get out of the nesting box and walk over and jump up onto the roost. So I know they can still learn it. It takes time, and every evening I've been going out and grabbing them out of the nesting box and putting them up onto the roost myself. They should be able to practice roosting from a really early age, and then by the time they go up into the coop, that's what they're used to, it's what they know. So the second mistake was not clipping their wings. One of the chickens had jumped onto the fence and then over into the woods and was just walking around, and luckily my brother just saw, and a different chicken jumped onto the fence and then jumped into my parents' backyard, and they had 5 big dogs out there when it did that, and they just rushed the chicken, and somehow miraculously it survived. But that could have been really bad, and I could have lost a chicken. So I think if there's any question in your mind of if you need to do that or not, it took us 2 minutes per bird to do it, so it was pretty easy. The third thing was we wanted to buy, some different breeds, and one of the breeds we were like, oh, we'll just get one. And the other breeds we were going to get weren't coming in at the same time, so we just bought one chick, and we both realized that they really should grow up with at least one other chicken. There should at least be a pair, because she grew up by herself, and it wasn't that big of a deal. She grew up, she's really clingy with us, because we spent a lot of time with her. She didn't have any, a friend. And then the worst part is, by the time we introduced her to our older hens, they were obviously kind of bullies to her, and they're still bully her a little bit, but it's not bad. But she has no one to really hang out with. She's just alone. So that's definitely something to consider. So the fourth thing was the actual coop design. Angelica had found this coop design on Pinterest, and she was like, oh, I really like this one. So I was like, that should be fine, let's build something like that. Some of the mistakes with it were, I made it too tall, for sure. It doesn't need to be this tall. I feel like it just lets that much more water in a heavy rain blow up underneath into there. You can tell I'm not fully done. I've got some finished work to do on it, but I didn't design an easy way. I didn't listen to Angelica's advice about adding some kind of, easy, clean, pull out thing that a lot of modern coops have. They have a just shelf that you can slide it out one way and, clean it out easy. All I did was have on the inside part, I have a pretty big, large door, maybe 2 foot wide door that goes all the way up that I can open and get all the stuff out. So it's not terrible, but it could have been a lot better. The other mistake was, for a while, when I finally did add a roost inside, I had the roost at about the same level as my 2 top nesting boxes that are in there. And they want to get to the highest point they can when they're roosting. And so they look at, the roost I added in there, and then they see their nesting box and it's higher, so they would be jumping up inside there. Probably the fifth and most important one, at least that we learned, was we have a big black dog. He's like a flat retriever or something like that. Really friendly, good family dog. And when we first got these backyard chickens, they were raised with him. And so, he was curious about them at first. He'd lick them every now and then, but especially once he spent so much time with them, he was never aggressive towards them. They walked around together. It's like he was a chicken. But then we got a new dog. We adopted a new dog. She's really sweet, and we didn't have any issues with her. And I knew that we need to slowly introduce her to the chickens, because you have to just assume especially a dog you don't really know, you have to assume that they're going to want to kill it. It's like a squirrel or a rabbit or something. They're just inherently want to do that. The way you can really tell is when your dog can just walk around without looking at them all the time, like really looking at them. And that's when you know that they're not really thinking about the chickens. They're just walking around minding their own business. But Harper, our new dog, she was really, no matter what they were doing or where she was, her ears were up and she was just kind of watching them the whole time. I just trusted her way too quickly, way too easily, and we actually lost 2 chickens to her. She killed 2 of them, and I can't blame her at all. I really blame myself, because you can't just throw 2 animals like that together and hope they're gonna coexist peacefully. So that's the biggest piece of advice, is especially if you have a bigger dog, or even a medium-sized dog, take the time to really work with them and make sure they're going to be friendly with your chickens, and you're not going to have to deal with that, because that's just an extra thing to have to worry about if you're worried about your dog. And that's one of the main reasons I actually built a bigger pen all the way around my coop area, because our chickens used to they had the whole backyard to roam. I don't know what it would take for me to fully trust her just outside with them, loose, especially if I'm not in the backyard. Everyone makes different mistakes. Other people are going to give different advice for whatever mistakes they believe are the top ones to think about, but these were just the main ones that have affected us in our first year. Everything else has been really great. I really love having chickens. Is pretty awesome. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this helps anyone out there looking to get backyard chickens and raise them, or if you do have them and you're just running into some issues. But yeah, thanks for watching the video.